Thank you, St. Luke's. Thank you, Everett. I got caught in between. Started with St. Luke's when this initiative was begun, and worked with Everett and the rest on the team. And then I had already a year or so prior had planned on retiring from full-time parish ministry towards the summer of this year. And so after that, I was called to serve part-time at St. Phillip's in Fort Payne. And St. Phillip's was obviously already in the program. And so I'm here with just secondhand information, but some vision for where the project might go as we move forward at St. Phillip's. It is certainly in the redirection phase, reevaluating. But I want to tell you a little bit about thanks to Cammie, and what I've heard at some of the meetings and my participation with the team. The idea that emerged out of St. Phillip's team was how can we address people who are disconnected, disenfranchised from the church? And the team, let me give a little bit of folks on the team. Lynn Brewer, who has been, and you'll see, this is her restaurant at an old pencil factory in St. Phillip's that closed. And she has an antique store there. And in the end, the south end of the building has opened a restaurant. And that restaurant became the center. And in the back of the first floor, there's also this big room, which I'll tell you a little bit more about. Lauren Everett, Stephanie Fritz, Becky Gunn and Anne Marie Smith, and Judith Comer, who was the rector, they were the original team. From the outside, Butch Gregg, Tim Harris, Jake Penholster joined them in their work. I can't see now. My notes. A little bit of light. No, I can see it by doing this. Go ahead, you can turn them off. And they felt that there was, and by the way, Judith became the coach because they also had a transition. Their earlier coach that thought would be there decided to go a different direction or not be in the program. And so Cammie picked it up as coach and was very instrumental in helping them discern where they might go with the project. Their discernment led them to, again, engaging the community, and through this restaurant and this meeting room, they decided to start what they called the Gathering, which was held on a weekday evening. I think started out on Wednesdays. Yeah, started meeting on Wednesdays. And the people who came in, they were using videos. They had some musicians. And it basically was a worship time, a fellowship time, with the goal of, again, developing community, a sense of community of these disenfranchised folks. And when I came into the mix, which was, again, sort of at the end of the initial phase, obviously, because this is just a couple months ago, we had a meeting with Cammie, and there was this sense of failure because this gathering that got started has taken on a life of its own, and they saw that as a failure. But it is a worshiping community that has a life of its own now, and it has attendees who were not connected to a church. Even Lynn's mom and daughter and granddaughter, and I think her husband. Cammie attended a worship service there, and they were there. She actually met another lady who was about her age. She said, about 40 years old, right? About 40 years old, who they really related, and said she had been out of the church and had found a place there where she really felt connected and back into a community, needing that sense of, again, finding relationships with other folks who were, trying to get by, just trying to find a place in this world that is certainly, in many ways, has lost its identity and trying to find a new identity. Now, what has transpired, and I think what are we calling it? What do we call the aha moment? The pivotal moment. The pivotal moment, I think, is the realization, and I think Cammie certainly has caught it, and being an outsider, I saw it right away, was again helping this team see that, again, they have launched something. They've started a whole new community that did not exist, and so we're helping them come to terms with that. It's easy to see when you're kind of not there, but again, they felt it was sort of a failure, and they needed to deal with their discouragement and also find new direction. So what we have done, and this is with Cammie's help, is we sort of sat down and said, okay, here's where we are. This has a life of its own, but we're not involved in it. So a few weeks ago, we started a new meeting on a weeknight, and what we're going to do is we're meeting in the restaurant at this point because there's enough space there. It's only open till like 4 o'clock. So we've had 2 meetings, and we're looking for a name, but we're sort of playing with open doors. A place, there's an apartment complex right across the street from the gathering. The place where the gathering is meeting in this facility, where a lot of young people are, and all ages, but a lot of young folks, a lot of young professionals. And so we're basically starting to find a way to develop community there. There's some snacks, and we started out with, we had a former Buddhist monk, who is still a practicing Buddhist but no longer a monk, and he came and talked about Buddhism, and then we just all discussed it afterwards, asked questions, and talked about it. And then this past week, the next 3 weeks, we are using the Brain, the video series, or the series that was done on PBS, showing one of those and then having discussion. And we had a wonderful discussion Tuesday night. We're meeting on Tuesday nights. The plan is to continue that and then use just different topics that might be of interest for people to come, share, listen, break bread together, and just see how we can make connections and see how God might move among us. Does that, Cammie, anything you want to add? I think that's okay. So, thank you.